and welcome to the Priggya Arora Show, where we discuss law, innovation, and entrepreneurship with people who have been there and done that. My name is Priggya Arora, founder of PA Legal and Intellectual Property Law Firm in India. And today we have a special guest, Amanda Haverstick. She is the founder of Writing Law Tutors, and we welcome her on the show. Welcome, Amanda.
Hello, thank you for having me. You did a perfect job at pronunciation.
Great. So, Amanda, we'll start with your story and how did you become the person you are today?
Sure. I grew up, father was a lawyer and he had been to Harvard and Harvard Law School. So it was very demanding atmosphere at home. And my mother was an English teacher. So between the two of them, I had lots of grammar instruction and lots of legal style debates about everything when you're a kid and then a teenager. So I think that I was trained a lot in what I'm ultimately doing now from a young age. And in fact, I mean, I went to Harvard for undergraduate and then I really had a choice to make. Should I become a teacher? Should I become a lawyer? And it was really hard. And I will tell you, I wrestled with it in my early 20s. I'm definitely a worrier, and you can worry about all the things that might go wrong if you do one or the other. But I ultimately, for many reasons, but one prime reason being that I decided it was more likely that I would go to law school now and later become a teacher than the reverse, because it's harder to do law school. And I thought I could be a teacher even without a teaching degree in private schools. So, and a legal degree, which is a great background education. And I loved law school. I was very fortunate. I really, really liked it. And sort of stumbled into what I was doing. I like things that have to do with people less than money or businesses maybe. That so I like people. And so I got into employment law, which involves sort of the moral code or the legal code. And we don't use codes in the US, but using that term generically for how people behave to one another in the workplace. And since we're all at work so much of our lives, unfortunately, that, you know, there's a lot, it tracks a lot of morality in the country, what's going on in the workplace. And so I really fell in love with that. And I did that for 20 years. I was a lawyer. I can tell you about any parts of that if you'd like, but to speed the story up, I stopped doing that about 2016. I was kind of burnt out after 20 years. I worked in big law firms in New York and Philadelphia, so it was very high pressure, but I also had 3 daughters. And so I'm a mom, so that became a huge part of my life. And I wasn't home when they were little because I had to work. So I took about 5 years to be home with them while they were still, before they grew up and went off to college. So that was lovely. And then during the pandemic, I guess I sort of, like a lot of people, reinvented who I was going to become, who I would be. They're off in college now. And I had always loved writing and teaching, and I loved being a lawyer. So what I do now is working with law students and lawyers on legal writing, and I do a lot of teaching and coaching. So it's a good combination of passions of mine.
Wow, I think this is such a beautiful journey, and now I exactly know your passion of writing comes from after working for about 2 decades in employment law and stuff
I
like
put
that.
in the hard time. It was definitely grueling, and
Yeah.
especially being a young mother, I had 3 children very close together. So juggling all of that was challenging, and it was adrenaline packed. I loved it. I loved really every minute until the end, where I just sort of, you get older and priorities change in terms of what's
Wow.
important to you.
So, Amanda, a question comes to my mind, like you have worked for about 20 years in core law, handling work in the legal departments and things like that, and then you switch to writing. Why do you think writing is so crucial for lawyers, legal professionals, and law students? Like we know it is a crucial part, but why did you choose this field to enter into, and why do you think what according to you is importance of it?
Well, words are everything. The law is based on words. It's written down,
Yeah.
and how we write things and communicate them really is sort of the way the law is always been communicated. And it is critical to be able to do that clearly and accurately and
Yeah.
ultimately persuasively. And
Correct.
if you could write clearly, accurately, persuasively, which certainly takes into account that you've got to have brevity. It can't be run on. You need to get to the point and all the different components of good writing. But it's really everything, because you cannot inform other people about the law. You can't communicate with your clients. You can't
Correct.
communicate with courts. And I think that also writing in general is so important in life, because
Yeah.
everything is about how we communicate with other people.
Correct. So, Amanda, I think here we need to differentiate between normal writing and legal writing. Legal writing, of course, is different from law, normal writing. So, how do you differentiate, and what do you give to your student? Is it the core legal writing, or you tell them no, we have to enter into professional writing as well, because that is also important. We can't deal with clients in the manner of legal writing. We have to deal with clients in normal English. So, so I think these are two different aspects that we need to cover.
Yes, and I think that the structure in which one must write
Yeah.
is very different, and legal writing is very structured, and there are certain ways that lawyers say things, and there is a certain order in which we say them and in which we go through our reasoning. And that is something that's different from normal writing. But I disagree that normal writing is that different from legal writing in another sense, and that is that the best writers write how they speak and how
Yeah.
they communicate,
Correct.
not how the case law from 1800 reads.
Absolutely.
So I think that becoming a great writer or becoming a great legal writer can then in turn help you become the other one. So if you're a good legal writer, you're going to be a better professional writer, because you will have learned the ways to write in a clear and direct fashion, and you'll learn how to be captivating so you don't bore everyone to death.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever people whenever new interns join us, we always tell them that there is some kind of difference. Like we cannot write a case law in an email and explain it to the client. We need to give them a, a correct form of writing, like how we speak. So I.
Exactly. And I worked in-house at a company
Hmm.
for 2.5 years during my big law days. I went back to a law firm after that. But all of my clients were non-lawyers. They were human resources professionals and business people, sales, marketing, production. And so, yes, you have to communicate the law in a way that would be understood to someone who's not a lawyer. And certainly when you're writing to a court, you'll write a little differently than you would be when you're writing to someone who is not a lawyer. But in the same way, you're going to still try to strive for great professional writing, which transcends really all types of writing.
So, Amanda, I'm sure there would be some skills that supplement uh, writing better. Like if we want to improve legal writing, we can work on some other skills. also. So can you tell us what are those supplementary skills which can come together with writing and how people can improve on their
Sure.
writing
I
aspect?
would say core things are grammar, because if you do not write in the proper grammar, your sentence will not be clear to someone who will read it, assuming that it should be in proper grammar. So you can confuse the reader, and it also detracts from your credibility. And absolutely.
Mm.
So I would get a very strong background in grammar and word usage, because words are used different ways in different contexts. And the law has a lot of words that have special meanings. They're terms of art. And so you need to be a little careful when you're doing legal writing that you make sure you use the right word for the right occasion. So those could be sort of targeted exercises, but in general, to become a better writer is you should do a lot of reading of good writing. You should read
Absolutely.
good writing as opposed to writing that is going to be in the passive voice and long sentences with lots of dependent clauses. So I will say, in terms of sentence structure, my Latin training has definitely helped me. I took up through AP Latin, and I really, so several, I guess five years of Latin, 5 or 6 years in high school. And just the way we had to diagram sentences and understand what words were doing what in the sentence really helped. So I would say all that type of background skills would be very useful.
Wow, awesome. I think grammar and the kind of word we use are the most important things which impact our writing. And for lawyers, as I think 80% of the work happens on emails, communication, and legal drafting and things like that. So for them, it becomes more and more important to, flow with correct legal writing.
And I also think get to the point and have your main points up front so that a reader will
Absolutely.
be very clear, and then you can go into greater detail about things. But it's nice, especially when communicating with clients, to give them a little simple list or key takeaways at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is so important because from my personal experience, if I may share,
Absolutely.
then what happens is if we give clients, like if we give long legal opinions, for example, 10-page opinion, then the client will come to us and they'll ask us to explain that stuff. But if we have given a small summary of it, explaining what is there in this legal opinion, and we drafted in a very simple language that the client is able to understand, they will not come back to us to ask us that can you explain this legal opinion. So I think it is very very useful if we kind of give some summary or key points in the beginning itself.
Definitely. I think that it's for online writing as well. If you post online, it's so important to seize the attention of the reader these days. So, but all that's true. You need to keep an attentive reader, because readers can stray and wander in their mind and get bored, and you want to keep their attention. So it's important to write in a way that will do that.
Wow. So now that you have spoken about online writing, I want to bring it up to everybody's notice, your series, Dear 1L. So, how did you start with that? It is a beautiful series. If people who are watching this do not know, follow Amanda on LinkedIn, and you will come to know. So, how
Thank
did you?
well, I started last September, so it's been less than a year.
Yeah.
And my very first post, I believe, was September 22nd. And it was called 1L Tip Today or something. It wasn't Dear 1L, but and I just started posting tips for law students about how to be a better law student. And I posted tips about legal writing. I would
Yeah.
teach through my letters to law students. I would teach strong writing and legal writing. And also, I guess it was in November, my first Dear 1L. And it was really just an idea that I've always liked to write letters in my life. I've always been a letter writer, and I found my voice that way. And I'm very scared when I post on LinkedIn. I still get very anxious that it's going to be stupid and no one's going to read it, or they read it and they think it's stupid, which is worse. And so I still panic about that. And I just feel more comfortable writing in the letter style, and I think it's more intimate. And my daughter, my oldest of three daughters, is starting law school right now at the University of Pennsylvania, which is number 6 in the country. So it's a really, really top Ivy League law school. And I think I got really interested in that through my mothering and wanting to continue and have something relevant and useful, for my daughter. And I think my letters in many ways are a way of memorializing everything I've learned in my long legal career life, so that they're all down there so that someone doesn't have to learn the hard way, or it might just help you to know it in advance.
Wow, awesome. And we'll say, please continue with that series. We all love it.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm definitely planning to continue this year. So we'll see. We're taking it 1 year at a time.
Wow, awesome. So, Amanda, also, what was the idea behind writing law tutors? What was it, the same idea that lawyers should be better writers, or how did that come, especially after employment law?
Well, I don't know that it per se has a link with employment type of law, but when I was working when I was in a senior counsel or a counsel at the law firms, I was doing a lot of training of all of our lawyers and how to write better. And I was the co-editor for all of our client alerts and the blogs that our firm published in employment law. So it gave me a lot of training in how junior associates and how they need to change how they write to become law firm writers, which is different than law school writing. So, and I think that going forward, since a lot of my clients, 50% of them, I would say, are lawyers. I don't write directly to lawyers, but lawyers like to read my letters to law students. So it sort of works out. But I do have a lot to say for junior associates as well, especially if you want to have a family and juggle it all. So we'll see what comes in the future.
Wow, awesome. So, Amanda, I think we covered a lot, but finally, would you like to give some tips to people who want to improve, or something that could be useful for the people in the industry?
Sure. For writing tips, I would say to try to write in shorter sentences and to try to write affirmatively, where the subject is acting on the verb. It's called the active voice, and try to write that way. And if you have short sentences and you write affirmatively, those are two key areas that will change your writing for the better.
Awesome. Shorter sentences and affirmative and active voice. Perfect. So, Amanda, now we'll come to you, and it is a quick rapid fire round. Answer these 3 questions very quickly. 3 things that you are grateful for.
Emily, Megan, and Greta, my daughters.
Wow, awesome. 2 traits that you think are useful for the legal career.
2 traits, persistence and having a thick skin, so you don't take criticism or feedback negatively, and you learn from it and become better.
Awesome. And one aspiration you have for the future?
I think I would like to write a book, and if I do, it will be called Dear 1L, and it will be combination of original letters and new letters and my thoughts about the topics. So that'll be a good project to look forward to.
Awesome. And we wish you all the very best for your book.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Amanda, any final thoughts before we conclude this podcast?
I feel very fortunate that I'm now able to do what I love and to marry my passions for law, teaching, and writing. So I just encourage everyone to keep trying to find what you're good at and where you can add value in this world, because it's very rewarding when you find it.
Awesome. Find what you are good at and add value to the world. Awesome. Thank you, Amanda, for being here and accepting our invitation. And we look forward to seeing you again on our podcast.
Thank you so much.
Hey there, thank you for attending today's session. If you enjoyed today's session, do follow our channel and consider sharing it with a friend. My name is Priggya Arora, daughter of inspiring parents, alumna of IIT Kharagpur, engineer turned lawyer and entrepreneur, and now founder of PA Legal, where we help creators and innovators protect their intellectual property. Thank you.